Привіт всім, як справи сьогодні вдома? Вдома. Hello, how are you? I'm indoors at home because I'm still sick and there's not really much I can do about it because I don't know if it's a really bad cold or something else. Who knows? And also the air pollution, who knows? Maybe that's causing irritation in my throats. Anyway, this live video I was going to make about the politics and the alliances, and mention that how Russia is portrayed as the evil side, the only evil side that we can talk about. And if we look around, there's a fight going on in many countries, not just in Ukraine, but in Sudan. And basically, we can observe that the main debate is about whether a country breaks into parts or stays like as one country. Do you understand my point? Is in many countries that's the cause of debate and war is whether the country stays in one piece or not. In Sudan, the same case, and the sides, the main sides are fighting with each other, like Russia and the USA and so forth, and Turkey is also in the fight. So I'm just saying that the world politics is very messy, and it's a very painful topic because it's causing a lot of lives lost due to the wars. And remember Syria, an unjust civil war against a legitimate leader of the country. And I don't know if Syria is better off now than before. I don't think so. But the news portrays it here as everything is better, in Syria after the fall of the Bashar al-Assad regime. Sorry, I'm struggling to speak because I have a very bad throat ache. So I'm just saying, we are given constant, in the West, that Russia is the only evil one and we should hate Russia and ban the Russian language. In many European universities, Russian language is banned. So, anybody who wants to study Russian, they can't. And and let's look at the role of Turkey. Turkey wants to gain more and more roles in world politics, and being the peacemaker, but also involved in wars. It's saying that it's doing it for justice, for the local people to not to be ripped off, by other foreign powers, Hello, welcome to my channel. So this is the topic is very messed up. So USA, Russia, Turkey is all involved in wars across the world, and who is whose alliance? Well, strangely, the Trump administration gets on well with Erdogan's administration. So it's very interesting. Having said that, Trump is an evangelist Christian and Mr. Erdogan is a Muslim. So it sounds very interesting to me. How can the two get along? But there must be something else, Just I find it interesting, Anyway, sorry, I can't read your message right now. I'm just paying attention to something boiling here. So, and so returning to that. So, in Sudan, in Syria, in Libya, there have been, conflicts and wars, civil war, and the governments have been changed, in those countries, right? And the civilians have been paying the price for the foreign intervention, like whether it's the USA, or some other side. The civilians are paying a cost. They have to flee the conflict zone or the war zone, and they become refugees in other countries. And this is so unfair to those civilians. And who is the evil? The Western media says Russia is the evil for, everything in the world, when actually, I mean, how many ethnicities live in Russia? Well, let's look at that. How many different ethnic people live in Russia? Actually, a lot. I don't know, over 100 different ethnicities live in Russia in peace, not, like but in Ukraine, unfortunately, uh, few minorities, well, in Ukraine there couldn't be peace, sadly, because the USA and who knows, well, Turkey had benefit from this, that the sides were stirred up. The Russian speakers were treated bad in Ukraine. They were the enemy because they were speaking Russian and they couldn't speak Ukrainian. And now you would say the other side is Russians not recognizing Ukrainian as a separate language. Sorry. Uh, Hello, merhabalar, nasılsınız? Erdoğan like. Trump yok. Trump'u kim seviyor ki? Ben sevmiyorum mesela. Hiç sevmiyorum. Odd messages I receive. Anyway, returning to the main point is, has Russia caused all those illegal regime changes in the world in many countries? It hasn't. The USA was seeking, control of countries like Syria, Sudan, and so forth. It was the USA and its allies seeking to control other countries. And for the Ukraine case, well, Russia, I think, didn't want a next door neighbor which was allying itself with, the USA, which, gave weapons and all that, just to, make the whole country, unlivable, and a disaster, with this war in Ukraine, because the civilians are paying the price in Ukraine for this war. Those who have to stand in queue for 1 cup of soup, a hot soup to eat, because there's no electricity, no water. So imagine that those poor Ukrainian civilians, they are stuck in that situation because, well, the country still, has this leadership that doesn't want to give up on, well, portraying Russia as the primary evil of everything in the world, and also causing its own civilians terrible difficulties. I mean, I just can't imagine, minus 20 Celsius degree temperatures and no electricity, no water, and no heating. I mean, that's one thing that I like winter, but it doesn't mean that, I mean, without water or electricity, I wouldn't like to be. But in Ukraine, the civilians have to be living in such conditions. Even worse, hide in metro station shelters. That's even worse. They have to lay on the floor, at the metro stations or in tents. That's horrible. Well, I supposedly can't talk, so just have to make another live soon.